What's up, you guys? TechChucker here, and I've got a review for you of the Marvel Legends X-Men Apocalypse Wave Magneto. Now, I have needed a Magneto for a long time in my collection. This is my first and only so far. It's not my favorite costume design, but it's Magneto. I mean, you gotta get Magneto for your collection if you want to have any kind of X-Men. So here it is. Let's go ahead and crack this thing open and take a closer look. Alright, let's go ahead and take a look at the articulation first on this figure. It's pretty well standard. I mean, there's nothing too spectacular on here, but his head is on a ball hinge, and because of the helmet, he can only look up about this far. He's able to get his chin pretty much all the way down into his chest, which is nice, and then he's got good side-to-side motion. There's not really anything going to get in the way of that. He has a fair amount of tilt with this head. Looks and works pretty good. I'm happy with that. Moving into the shoulders, he's got that standard ball hinge, and he can get his arm just a hair above his shoulder, which is pretty darn good. He has full rotation. You just kind of have to move the shoulder pad out of the way. That works good. And then he does have an upper bicep swivel. That works nicely. He's got double jointed elbows, but this piece is definitely going to get in the way of that. So you get about 90 degrees. That's about it. Moving to the wrists, he's got a peg joint with a hinge in both hands, and he can crunch and curl them fairly decently. That's this piece is definitely still going to get in the way of that, but not too terribly. Moving down into the torso, he's got a hinge which allows him to crunch forward this much, which is actually pretty darn good. And then he is able to crunch his back or arch his back that far, which is pretty decent. The one issue that you're going to note is the further back that you go with that, the lines here will break at some point, and you're going to have a bit of a gap there. He does have a waist swivel. That works pretty good. T-jointed ball joints in the hips, and this is about as far as he's going to go. Not too terribly bad, but could be better. He can kick forward just above 90 degrees. That's really nice. He's able to kick back only about this far. You know, could be better. He has an upper thigh cut that works good. Double jointed knees, those also work really, really nicely. He has an upper boot cut, and mine seem nice and tight, which is good because Hasbro seems to always give us loose ones. In the ankle, he has a disc hinge. He can get his foot back this far, and he can get his foot... Wow, that's really good for getting his foot forward that much. It's almost uncomfortably awkward looking, but I don't care. That is really, really nice. And then he does have an ankle rocker in that ankle as well. So overall, the articulation is pretty much all there. We have seen most all of this before, so it's not a huge surprise. Okay, let's take a look at the sculpt and paintwork on this figure. I think Hasbro did a fairly nice job. Hopefully we'll be able to see with the lighting, but this helmet I do like a lot. It is basically a piece that was put on top, but it is glued onto the head, but you can see his face is painted fairly nicely, pretty clean, nice white eyes. You can see his eyebrows, nice gray, and these helmet pieces that kind of surround his face are soft, so they can kind of be moved a little bit if you need them to. Moving down into, we'll talk about the torso first. This is basically the standard, I believe, Bucky cap mold. Nothing spectacular about it, and the paintwork is pretty blah. I don't like it. I wish that this was sculpted on these lines. They're a little thin. I don't really care for the tone of the red. It just, I don't know, it just doesn't look that great. And again, the thickness of the paint is a bit lacking, so you can see the black is definitely showing through. It's really not that great of a paint job. I mean, it's fairly clean and the lines are pretty nice, but again, thin paint, and I would have gone with maybe something a little brighter. I don't know. There is no paint on these little wrist gauntlet things. I wish there was some paint, some sort of dry brush or a wash. The cape, I don't really care for this cape. It's sculpted nice enough. It's got some nice detail. I believe we've maybe seen this cape design before. I hate the way that they execute the peg deal to hold it on. It never really holds on. These shoulder pieces are floating as well. It's just kind of a weird thing. It looks nice enough, but there's no paint, so it just kind of looks cheap, and I just don't really care for it. Now the hands, the translucent hands are really nice. I like these hands. They are sculpted really, really nicely, and I think Hasbro did a great job with these, with them being translucent purple, giving that effect of him doing something is, you know, much appreciated. Alrighty, let's take a look and see just how tall Magneto is. He is coming in at almost, he's about 6.5 inches, almost 6 5/8 inches tall. So he's a pretty tall guy, which I would expect. I am pleased with that. Let's throw in Deadpool next to him. Deadpool is actually just a hair shorter than Magneto, which I think is accurate. I think that's accurate. But either way, I like it. I like that he's kind of a towering character. Okay, so Hasbro was somewhat generous with us when it comes to the accessories. Normally, I kind of rail on and on about not getting enough hands, but Hasbro did give us a set of black fist hands to replace the translucent ones that they gave us. So I appreciate that. Obviously, it would always be nice to get a few more hands, but apparently I can't focus. But you know what these fist hands look like. They're pretty much standard hands that we've seen 1.5 million times. The other effects that we get, we saw this with Storm, I believe, are these little power effects. Basically, it's like lightning or some sort of power, something or other. And this is basically just kind of a soft plastic that folds or rolls into a nice piece that can wrap around the hand and will make it look as though he is shooting some sort of power out of his hands. And we get 2 of these to wrap around his hands, which I really, really like these. They're very simple. I'm sure, I don't know if it would cost a lot for Hasbro to do these, but there's probably a lot of characters that could go ahead and utilize some sort of effect like that. Okay, last but not least, he comes with an unmasked head. We'll see if this will focus in. There we go. So this head sculpt, I'm kind of on the fence. I don't know if I like it. The first thing is they sculpted it very, very nicely. The eyes are painted very, very cleanly on mine. The eyebrows, they actually hit the mark with the eyebrows. The lips, they didn't paint his lips, and there's not really any shading within the face. The one issue is, and mine is not nearly as pronounced, but the hair is actually glued on. It's not a single piece that is sculpted all together. This hair piece is separate, but it is relatively soft. So we're gonna go ahead and pop this on and see what he looks like with this unmasked head, because I actually haven't put this on him yet, which is a little hard to believe. Okay, there we have it. So see if we can focus that. There we go. I think it looks pretty good. The one weird thing is why he's got basically 2 like cowlick things on his forehead. I don't know if I'm a huge fan of that sculpt, but he is able to look up a little bit more. That's nice, and you know, there's no other issues with his articulation. I think it's good. I will accept this. I think it's good enough. I would say that this figure is maybe not a must-have, because my guess is Hasbro is going to give us another Magneto at some point, and they're probably going to go with something a little more comic accurate. So if you need a Magneto and you just can't wait, this one will do, but I have a pretty good feeling Hasbro's gonna give us an actual comic version, the one that we're a little more accustomed to. So there you have it, folks. I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Make sure you hit that bell notification button if you haven't, so that way then you get notified anytime I upload a new video. And until next time, I'll see you later.